It started with a barked command. Put your hands behind your back, Tim. Greg puffed out his chest like a bouncer at a sold-out show, though this wasn't a gig, and he wasn't security, just a middle-aged guy in cargo shorts, a VY8er shades, and a flimsy badge from a discount store that read, HOA Patrol. My 14-year-old nephew, Jake, blinked at him, his skateboard still spinning lazily by his foot on the driveway. Are you for real? Jake asked, half chuckling, half baffled. Dead serious, Greg shot back, pulling out plastic zip-tie cuffs like he was the star of a low-budget police drama. Before I could sprint across the yard, Greg had Jake's hands bound right there on our property, claiming he'd breached some HOA noise rule. That's when I dialed my sister, Lisa. She didn't pick up immediately. She was stepping off a helicopter after wrapping an FBI sting across 3 states. 4 minutes later, she called back, voice steady. I'll be there in 5. And 5 minutes later, she was still in her tactical gear, badge gleaming. When she climbed out of the SUV and saw her son zip-tied on the ground with a wannabe cop looming over him, all hell broke loose. Earlier that day, it had been a typical lazy Saturday. I was VY-sighting Lisa and Jake in town, expecting a chill weekend of junk food, cheesy MOVYES, and maybe a mini-golf outing. Jake's a laid-back kid's harp, witty, and obsessed with skateboarding clips. He'd just gotten a new board and was messing around in the driveway, wiping out, laughing, and hopping back up. Totally harmless, no blaring music, no rowdy friends, just a teenager being a teenager. Then came the hum of electric wheels. A golf cart rolled into the cul-de-sac like a predator on the prowl, parking crooked across the sidewalk as if staging a takedown. Out stepped Greg. If you've ever seen someone act way too important while doing something absurd, you've met Greg. He wore combat boots with his shorts, a tucked-in polo with a neighborhood watch, patch, and a cheap earpiece dangling uselessly. Name, he demanded, jabbing a finger at Jake. Jake squinted up. What? Name, address, HOA ID if you've got it. You're VYOLADing noise codes and risking property damage. Consider this your warning. I stepped out, pizza slice in hand. Hey dude, he's just skating on our driveway. Relax. Greg wheeled on me like I'd insulted his honor. Sir, I'm conducting HOA business. Do not interfere. You're not a cop, I said, stunned. I'm HOA trained, he snapped. Then, out of nowhere, he yanked out a zip tie, grabbed Jake's wrist, and cuffed him in one fluid move. Jake yelped. I dropped my pizza. What are you doing? I yelled, charging over. Detainment under Section 7.2 of the Community Guidelines, non-compliance with authority. I almost laughed. You're joking, right? Greg didn't crack a smile. You're lucky I don't cite you for obstruction. I whipped out my phone and called Lisa, summing it up in seconds. Greg, the HOA nut, had zip-tied her kid on our own driveway. I'm coming, she said, her tone icy. Meanwhile, a crowd gathered. A neighbor across the street filmed it, muttering play-by-play like a live stream. 2 kids on bikes gawked like they'd stumbled into a reality TV shoot. Jake sat there, hands bound, more irritated than scared. Dude, this is illegal, he said. My mom's FBI. Sure she is, Greg scoffed, pacing. They all say that when they're busted. Busted for what? I shouted. Landing a kickflip? Greg ignored me. I'm waiting for real backup. We'll see who's laughing then. Spoiler, he never called anyone. He knew he was out of his depth. 5 minutes later, a black SUV with government plates glided up, silent and ominous. Out stepped Lisa, still in her dark field uniform, gear strapped on, hair tight in a bun. She didn't shout or flinch, just strode over, glanced at Jake, then fixed Greg with a stare. Let him go, she said, calm as granite. Greg blinked. Who are you? She flashed her badge inches from his nose. Special Agent Lisa Harper, FBI. That's when Greg's bravado shattered. His mouth opened as darting between her badge, her face, the crowd, and the zip ties. Your badge is real, he mumbled. Unlike yours, she replied, snapping a pic of his tacky badge with her phone. You've just unlawfully detained a minor, impersonated an officer, and possibly broken several federal laws. Hope you've got a lawyer. Greg fumbled to cut the zip ties, hands shaking. Too late, Lisa said, phone up. Local PD's on the way. Stick around. By the time the cops arrived, Greg looked like a man waking from a delusional nap, arms limp, jaw clenched, avoiding Lisa's gaze. The officers, 2 no-nonsense locals, sized it up fast. A kid with wrist marks, a crowd of witnesses, Lisa's badge. They barely hid their smirks at Greg's HOA patrol badge, complete with a clip-art eagle clutching a mailbox. Greg sputtered excuses, flipping between indignation and panic, claiming he was on a community safety mission with the HOA's Rapid Response Unit. The cops glanced at Lisa. "Does this HOA have a response team?" one asked. She crossed her arms. "Not unless they've been secretly training rent-a-cops in their basements." Jake, now sipping a juice box from a neighbor's cooler, watched from the SUV like a VIP. The cops searched Greg's golf cart voluntarily. He insisted, and Lisa and I took Jake inside. That's when Lisa switched to agent mode, grilling us on every detail. What Greg said, how he acted, what gear he had, how long he'd been at it. She had that glint in her eye, the one that meant this wasn't over. We checked the neighborhood forum. Months of posts popped up. Fake HOA notices on doors, trash cans rearranged, cars flagged for parking too long even on private property. Some thought it was an overzealous board member. Others had thanked the volunteer. But a pattern emerged. Greg targeted newcomers or anyone who questioned the HOA. Lisa texted a cop friend. Within an hour, confirmation came. The HOA had no patrol, no enforcers, no right to detain or search. Greg was a nobody, just a name in the resident list, not even a board member. So why hadn't anyone stopped him? A cryptic message on the forum from Shadow99 hinted at the answer. He's not solo. Ask about the backroom deal. That lit a spark. Next morning, Lisa marched to the HOA office, a drab room in the community center that screamed bureaucracy. She demanded the board president. The receptionist, the jittery 20-something, paled at her badge. Out came Tom, a balding guy with a golfer's tan and a fake grin. "Agent Harper," he said, eyeing her badge. "What brings the feds here?" "You know why," she replied. "I'm here about Greg, your patrol guy." Tom chuckled too loud. "Greg's just eager. He oversteps sometimes, but he's harmless. He zip-tied a minor," she said. Tom's smile died. He mumbled about misunderstandings, claiming Greg had no real power, just liked feeling useful. Useful enough to wear a fake uniform and install cameras? Lisa pressed. Tom blinked. "Cameras. Wrong move." "You didn't know?" she asked. He hesitated. "We didn't approve surveillance, not officially." "Unofficially?" she pushed. He shook his head too fast. "Look, some board members might have had a deal with him to keep order. Trash issues, paint disputes. Renters, it's tough to enforce rules. So you let a vigilante harass people," Lisa said sharply. "I didn't stop it," Tom admitted. That was enough. Back home, Lisa opened a case file. It wasn't just Greg and Marie, it was the HOA's complicity. A neighbor sent footage of Greg mounting a camera in a fake birdhouse. Another found a blinking device on their fancy motion sensor. Lisa called in favors. That night, a cyber team in an unmarked van swept the area, finding 8 hidden cameras and data logs, all traced to a hard drive in Greg's garage. A warrant later, the garage revealed a stalker's lair, maps, resident schedules, car lists, photos, and folders labeled by family names. One read, "Harper Family High Priority." An agent whistled. "He's been profiling and weaponizing it," Lisa added. Word exploded online. A photo of the FBI van outside Greg's house hit the forum, captioned, "Fake HOA cop bang suburban spy. FBI's here." You won't believe what he had. It racked up 2,000 likes and spread to Reddit. Greg was charged with impersonation, detainment, surveillance, and more. But Lisa's real target was the HOA board, who'd enabled him for deniability. "It's not just one guy faking power," she said over coffee, "it's the people who let him." The neighborhood shifted overnight. Greg's house became a ghost town, his golf cart towed, his fake signs trashed. Someone taped a clown sketch to his mailbox. Neighborhood watched this. The street buzzed with outrage and unity.